that which I desire.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bench. I am one half of the team from InLacrosseWeTrust.com, Rocco Granato, and with me, hopefully not too frozen, from up in Toronto, Canada, where I believe the wind chill is somewhere in the negative 27 degrees. From LaxPhilly.com is Gary Grube. Gary, hopefully you could talk and you're not frozen.
It's cool out here, that's for sure. You know, the next time somebody tells me it's too hot, I'll be looking at them kind of strangely. Somebody has to explain the whole global warming thing to me.
It's only like about 12 degrees here. The wind chill is below zero here, so, but nowhere near what you have. So
it's fresh out here, we'll say that.
You got that brisk air coming through you, right?
Eye-opening experience every time I step myself outside. My eyes open wide, then freeze. It's crazy.
Right. This is not the weather to be crying outside, that's for sure.
Oh, no, it'll take you a few minutes to thaw from that.
Well, we had a couple of problems the last couple of days. Yeah, the old technology point streak was down doing their update, so we're almost doing this as a pre-game show before the games tonight. But we have a couple of interesting stories with the games from last week. Let's go right to we have to do the Friday games first. And then the interesting story happens on Saturday. The first game we had Vancouver going to New England. I wrote the game recap on this, and the theory of that lacrosse is a game of runs really lived up to it in this game. Because if you look at the score sheet, whenever one team scored, they scored anywhere between 2 to 7 goals in a row without anybody breaking it in between those goals. This is what I called the rematch of last season when Vancouver came to New England and upset the Black Wolves, beating them in overtime to clinch the final playoff berth in the West, and also ruining New England's chance of hosting a home playoff game. But this game, Gary, I thought was as well played as it could be in the first half, at least.
Yeah, the first half and the second half were two different stories, really. The first half, Vancouver came out on fire. It looked like they were going to really take it to New England. They got the first 2 goals, but they could have gotten a whole lot more because they were dominating play for the majority of it. And I think the one thing that really kept New England in the game is that Vancouver couldn't keep scoring. And when they came with their 6-goal run, at that point I thought, okay, well, maybe this is New England's game. And nearing the end of the first half, Vancouver woke up again. So it was bizarre. And then, of course, in the third, it was all Vancouver. And all of a sudden, it's like they just packed up and 3 is the magic number and see you later.
See you later, yep.
Because all of a sudden there was no Vancouver to see.
No, well, it just wasn't all Vancouver in the third. It was them from this halfway through the second quarter, all the way
pretty much, yeah.
Through the third.
It's just Vancouver. If you look at the time and possession and everything, Vancouver had this game well in hand. But Aaron Bold, although not quite the Aaron Bold that I have seen in the past, was a lot more of the Aaron Bold that I'm used to seeing, coming up with saves when he had to, especially near the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, when New England comes up with a power play goal and 2 shorties, Aaron Bold had a couple of assists on some of these goals as well.
Yeah.
Every time Vancouver tried to turn it around at this point, Bold was there for the save, including a couple of breakaways.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the doing part was in the beginning of the fourth quarter. Okay, and like I said, if you look at the score sheet, you had 2 goals by Vancouver, then New England went on a 6-goal run, then Vancouver goes on a 7-goal run, then New England goes on a 7-goal run. That's how you had the scoring. But when New England was up 9-6 going into that final quarter, I said Vancouver, being up 9-6, you had New England score a power play and 2 shorthanded goals. Okay, all within 2 minutes and 1 second. That took everything out of Vancouver, I think, right there. Even though it tied the game, you have 2 shorthanded goals during 1 power play. Something's going wrong there. The wheels came off the bus, and that was it. New England just took sheer advantage of the whole entire thing. And then, like you said, Aaron Bold just stood on his head when he had to.
Aaron Bold, and then he also has Sean Evans, more or less coming back. In the fourth quarter was where he was most dangerous.
Yeah.
The rest of the game he was silent. He was being checked. He was being held at bay. But in the fourth quarter, he started making big moves. And between him and Bolt, that was how this thing turned around.
Yeah, and Kyle Buchanan, who was just reactivated for that game, he missed the last game because his wife. So congratulations to both of Kyle Buchanan and his lovely wife on the birth of a baby daughter. So Kyle had a little bit of extra oomph in his step, we'll say, because he put in a hat trick. So no doubt that was a little something there for him.
Now here's some interesting stuff. We're talking about this Vancouver thing, and we'll get more about Vancouver later on in the show. But up to this point, Corey Small, the juggernaut of Vancouver, has had a whopping 1 goal, and that came in this game. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the only goals he's had this year. If this team's going to win, that can't happen.
No.
It's going right on down the line, too. They're not getting production from the people they need to get production from.
Reece Stutz didn't have any goals. He had 2 assists in the game.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And Logan Schuss didn't even play.
Right, yeah, he couldn't make it. They said he couldn't make it because of his job. Mm-hmm. He was tied down because of his job, couldn't get a flight out, and couldn't make it. But that's the other thing. With the final score being 13-9, you wonder if Logan Schuss was in this lineup, if it would have been different. I mean, granted, it is a 4-goal defeat, but he adds so much more to the game. But we always say that there's not just one person for the team.
Well, it's just a combination of everything. When your major production is coming from Brandon Goodwin and Joel McCready, you're not going to be winning many games.
And they have a hard enough time winning to begin with.
They aren't part of your mix.
No. I mean, Joel McCready in the early days, I would say yes, but yeah.
And then, like we had talked about last week, they did start Brody McDonald. He came up with a bit of a wonky knee, but it wasn't enough to take him out of the game because he was on the bench.
Yeah, you wonder how, because you watch when he went down. Okay, just before that goal was scored, when he was making a couple saves, you see him tap the outside of his left knee. Just before he was taken out.
That was also after the 5th goal in about 3 minutes.
No, that was just before the 5th goal was scored.
He was taken out at 1:31, which was at the 3rd goal of the second quarter.
Yeah. Well, no, he had 5 goals against them.
Right, that was the 5th goal in the span of from 14-17 in the first to 1:31 in the second.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
that was a grand total of 2 minutes 15 seconds more or less.
Yeah, but if you watch him at that point, just before the goal was scored, okay, as he's getting in position, you see him tap his knee.
But like I say, he was hurt so badly that he never left the bench.
Yeah, well, don't know. Maybe he might have, just done something to it, tweaked it, who knows? But I just found it kind of interesting because then at that point, that's when you seen him fall. You know? 'Cause I'm watching it and you see it because they showed the replay of when he got hurt and they were trying to figure it out. And I'm looking and I see his glove just tap, his knee. Like, don't know, maybe if the knee locked up on him and he was, hitting it or tapping it, try to get it, loosened up or whatever. But I took note of that when I saw that happen. So I don't know.
Like I say, he stayed on the bench.
On the bench, yeah.
Belanger kept in for the rest of the game. There's nothing listed that he's been hurt on any wire throughout the week. So I totally expect to see him opening and closing the gates tonight too.
Yeah. So who knows what what happened? Maybe just something the way he taps his knee. I don't know, but yeah, we always said, let him start. He started and got shelled.
That he did. That he did. Well, let's say Bold also got shelled for a while. And he was not looking like the Bold of old either.
No.
Near the end, he started to lose. So, let's see. Let's see where that goes.
We'll see what happens there. And, as you said, New England comes out. They win 13-9. Shots on goal were fairly even, 50-48. Loose balls, 70-56. And the face-off, 16 out of 26. All in favor of New England. There was only 14 minutes in penalties called in this game, which was, somewhat controlled. New England goes 1 for 2 on the power play, while Vancouver goes 0 for 3. But like we said before, they let up those 2 shorthanded goals, which was really big, because that's almost like a 4-goal swing there, or a 3-goal swing, so to speak, because you can only score 1 on a power play, because these 2 came during the one penalty. But 13-9, New England wins. They move to 2-1, and at the time, a half game out of first place at the time. Now, our second game of the night, which is a typical Western Division fun fest, we'll say. You had 27 minutes in penalties, and Todd LeBranch was the official. But like we said, this game happened in 2017. They probably think it's preseason.
Yeah.
Calgary kind of hung in there. They had a mental lapse in the third quarter as well. And they unfortunately come out on the losing end of this, 11-7 to Colorado. What did you see in this game, Gary?
Well, I saw that both teams had their special teams working really well. I saw also both teams were taking silly penalties, and it was costing them a lot. But we also had runs going all over the place because Colorado basically took this game on their back in the third after giving it up in the second. Ryan Benesh is starting to look like Ryan Benesh. He had a great game. Earned him one of the stars of the week, actually.
Yeah.
And with 5 goals and 3 assists, he took Colorado completely on his back. And I would say that he was the main juggernaut of why Colorado wound up pulling this game out. I'm still thinking that Calgary and goaltending, everybody's sitting there going, I'm not so sure about this. Ciliano played okay. I wouldn't say he played great. He made 42 saves out of 52 shots. And then they had Del Bianco come in for the last bit trying to get him off the bench quicker as they were pulling the goalie.
Right.
But I never felt comfortable watching him in net. I don't know if any Calgary fans were more comfortable, but as a non-fan of the team, and I'm uncomfortable when he's being shot on, I can only imagine what some of the Roughneck fans are thinking.
Yeah, I mean...
With Calgary, it's tough to see because there's no consistent scoring anywhere.
No.
Westberg had 2 goals and 2 assists. Dane Dobbie had a goal and 2 assists. Ryan Lowen had 2 goals. But really, you had nothing coming from anywhere. Curtis Dixon silent again, just 2 assists.
Yeah, again, with no goals in the game. I mean, and you start to wonder, are they really missing Jeff Shatler?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean...
Tony only a goal and an assist. Yeah. They need more out of everybody.
I mean, they've played 3 games, I believe, so far. When have you seen Dixon go 2 games, not in a row, but just 2 games in general, without scoring a goal.
No, I agree.
You know, I mean, and yeah, I give a little chuckle because he has that commercial on with the new lacrosse heads and the warp heads, and he's like, you know, he keeps on saying how well his game has come along since using that warp head. Well, if he's not using that warp head, he better start using it.
Yeah. And even the score to me is a little bit skewed because, again, the last 2 goals for Calgary came in the last 30 seconds, inside 30 seconds, with an extra attacker. So at that stage already it was over.
Yeah, I mean you're looking 11-5 with a minute 23 to go.
Right. So this, for all intents and purposes, that's garbage time, and those goals don't really affect my idea of the score.
Right.
What happened? Calgary, it's night or day. It's either feast or famine with them. Either they look terrific or look like they barely played the game before. And we've seen this twice this year that Calgary really, really doesn't look comfortable playing with this team. Yet they did the most at the draft, and insiders were all looking for big things from them this year, and this doesn't seem to be the way.
No. You talked about Benesh with his 5 goals and 3 assists. 3 of those goals were on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
3 of them. I mean, that's just, unbelievable. And, like you said, both teams, the special teams were out in force as they combined for 8 goals total.
Because Jeremy Noble and Jacob Ruiz both had great games also.
Yeah.
In support. So you got to put the 3 of them together, and, you're going to get magic, looks like it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean...
Zach Greer, pretty quiet with 1 assist. So I think he's still trying to get the rust off. Once again, you had one of those transition gazelle goals from Capito. And if that doesn't stop you in your tracks, that's a good way to entirely change the look of things.
Yeah. Keogh had his 1 goal, like you said, Noble with 6 assists, Eli McLaughlin with 2. And yeah, Zach Greer's still, I think, like you said, getting that rust off. And God help the other teams when he finally does get that rust off. Because I think him and Benesh will work together really well once they, really get to know each other.
Just like on defense with Bryce Sweeting coming back, he's still getting his footing down too. He only had 2 loose balls and 1 caused turnover, and that was it. A couple of penalty minutes. That was his only claim to fame on the score sheets here. So he's still getting acclimated to the season too,
right?
After back injury. So, once these guys actually get a handle with each other, we have the Dylan Ward factor too. So you're not going to get any cheapies going in on him.
No.
40 saves out of 47 shots, steady throughout.
Yeah, I mean he's being rock solid in between the pipes. So. He's kind of reminding me of another goalie that has since retired and has made it, I believe, in the Hall of Fame, and that was Whipper.
He can steal a game for you. He can change an entire outcome of a game. But he's just steady. He's just there.
Yeah.
You never really think too much of him there other than when things are raining down and it's just still war, and he's there. No problems.
Yeah, he's doing well, and we always talked about
a whole lot less stress on the defense in transition. They're able to do more because they're not so worried of being at-home players, trying to be that second kind of goaltender, if you will, and they're able to run more plays and take more chances.
And the one thing that we got to start worrying, not we, but what Calgary's got to start worrying about is who is their goalie. I mean, we talked about this before when with the Swarm, before they picked up Mike Poulin. The Swarm didn't know which way they were going for goaltending. They were alternating at the time between Brody McDonald and Zach Higgins, and there was Tyler Carlson at the time, and everything going up and back, and nobody's there now. Poulin is now with the Swarm, and they seem to be back, getting slowly back on track. But you seen what happened with them last year, and now it seems like that virus, I'll say, has really reached up into Calgary. Because they talked about how Siciliano should have been the heir apparent to Mike Poulin.
Well, I'm wondering myself because I never thought that he's just out and out stolen that job. And if anything, he's let Del Bianco be in the mix and in the conversation because he hasn't taken it and run with it.
Right.
Yet as the heir apparent, and once Poulin left, this should have been lock solid his.
And that has
interesting. It'll be interesting, especially this weekend, to see which Calgary team do we get. And we'll get into that a little bit.
And that has,
an opponent that, as we'll find out, was for team slumps.
Yeah, and that has yet to happen. And then when you have the expansion draft coming, I don't think Calgary's going to have to worry about one of their goalies being taken.
No, they're going to be. They're going to probably be asking. I don't know how this is going to work. Granted that Del Bianco's only 19 and is still growing into the person he is and the body he's got.
He's still growing into the pads.
Oh yeah, but I say, seeing him with a really solid defense in front of him, in Minto, he looked great, and he was one of the reasons why Quitlam made it to the finals.
Yeah.
Although they did get schooled by Six Nations anyways in the finals, but that's neither hither nor yon. So, but Calgary, I would be a little bit, nervous about my goaltending situation, and maybe even my D situation because, of course, a lot of opportunities are coming in because the D is not playing great. And the game that they did win was because they jumped out quick and held on for dear life. And it was Vancouver. And so far, Vancouver hasn't allowed anybody.
Yeah. So,
Vancouver seems to have the 3-year only machine. It's stuck good in the fourth year, and it kind of stayed.
Stayed, yeah. Now, the next game that we got, this, wow, that's all I got to say about this one. Buffalo at Toronto.
Yeah.
You know what, Gary? I'm not even going to. We got. All I'm going to say is this: we had some roughs. We had a fight. We had a team with 100 loose balls, and it was basically a football score. So, go ahead, take it. I mean, this is.
Well, for the first
you were there.
5 minutes, it was a back and forth kind of a game. Buffalo scored. Toronto answered with a couple. Buffalo scored again. We got a couple of firsts that happened in this game. Drew Belgrave got his first goal for Toronto. Dan Craig got his first goal for Toronto. Sheldon Burns got his first goal for Toronto, all in the first quarter. Now, interestingly enough, at 3-3, then Toronto seemed to put it into a different gear near the end of the first quarter. All of a sudden, Craig England decided that he wanted to be a spark and reignite a fight from a couple of years ago with him and Billy Hostrauser. This one was a little more even than the one where he got his clock cleaned by Hostrauser a couple of years ago. But then, interestingly enough, with 0.1 second left in the quarter, Jordan Durston decided that he was going to shove Sheldon Burns on top of Nick Rose. Chandler Rogers didn't like that very much, and we had a lot of yelling and scuffling. Even Nick Rose was moving around a little bit as he'd lost his helmet in this melee. But it didn't seem to deter Toronto from what they were doing. They seemed to pick up and never look back. Coming into the second quarter, this was this Adam Jones coming out party for the year because he wound up with 4 goals and 5 assists in this game. And they picked up where they left off. And in that second quarter and the first quarter, Toronto got 6 goals each. So at this point, it was 12-8 at the half. And though Buffalo had an intermediate little run of 4 goals, the closest they got to were within a goal of Toronto. But At that stage, Toronto pulled away again, and by the end of end of the second, it was 12-8, and Toronto was never looking back. The third quarter, Buffalo came out, but Toronto weathered their storm. Guys like Adam Jones and Kieran McArdle, doing what they had to do. In the fourth quarter, though, this was Toronto, and they found their fourth gear for the first time this year. They look like a cohesive unit. And the big thing in this game, and I guess so far if I put points to the trade, I would give the points to Toronto because I think that Sheldon Burns had much more of an impact than Stephane LeBlanc did for New England. Transitionally, he was everywhere. He also got the other guys on transition moving because transitionally, every time Buffalo was running, they had somebody on top of it. Buffalo wasn't outrunning Toronto. Toronto was outrunning Buffalo even on defense. And when you take a look at numbers of caused turnovers at 13, turnovers at 22, that was just for Buffalo, I'm sorry. For Toronto, caused turnovers 20, 11, and turnovers for 20, let alone the loose balls at 100. When's the last time we've seen numbers like that?
Yeah, that's...
Brody Merrill alone had 13, and Sheldon Burns had 11. Now, their combined production there, some of these teams are saying, hey, our team does that. But everybody up and down the lineup had loose balls.
Well, even Adam Jones, 4 goals, 5 assists, and 10 loose balls.
Yeah, anybody who was worried about Brock Sorensen's knees, I got news for you. They're fine.
They're fine, yeah.
He had a beautiful goal in transition. He was feisty, old Brock Sorensen, with his 7 penalty minutes. But the big one there for me is there were 6 loose balls. 1 turnover, 1 caused turnover. So he was in the mix there.
Yeah.
Everywhere you looked. Adam Jones with 10. It was amazing. Brett Hickey had 4. Brandon Slade, who really didn't show me much other than his boarding penalty from the first game. He had 5 loose balls on defense.
Well, even Cree, he had 9 loose balls and went 19 for 30 on the faceoffs. I mean,
he was on fire, and he was there for everything. He was in the middle of everything.
Yeah, this was just total domination by Toronto. Even though score shows.
Game that I had expected in game 1.
Yeah.
For some reason, didn't get it. Now, when Buffalo signed Zach Higgins, we're all wondering, you think we're going to get a chance to see him? Yeah, we got a chance to see him, all right. Barely a minute into the second, we got a chance to see him because Alex Bouquet did not look very comfortable at all.
No.
On 15 shots on goal, he gave up 7. So he was fighting it at every turn. Higgins, though I don't think he weathered the storm, he was a little bit more consistent with 33 saves out of 45 shots.
Right.
But really, they didn't have any other options.
No. But you know what? You wonder, because in the beginning, Bouquet is struggling. You wonder if it's the Buffalo team in general, their defense and lack of scoring, or is it maybe him coming over from the Western Division, the Western Conference, how their style may play compared to the way Buffalo plays in the East?
It's possible. I think a lot of it has to do that Buffalo's defense isn't very good.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And the only reason they won that first game was Toronto's offense wasn't clicking at all. The last 2 games they've been shelled, both of them.
Yeah, big time.
And I say Calgary comes to town, and I see this to be a very good thing for a team that's ailing like Calgary to get themselves on track. Because I know that Toronto had a much easier week, even though they wound up with the injury bug again this week. So, a lot of things, they've stopped squeezing the stick so hard because things were going in. Whereas against Saskatchewan, a lot of these goals probably wouldn't have been able to make it in because they weren't getting inside and they weren't getting second chances.
Right.
Whereas here, with 100 loose balls, they were getting chances again and again and again.
Yeah, and the big...
I really think that trade getting Sheldon Burns here, I really think he was the catalyst to get a couple other guys on fire, and the entire Gazelle section of the transition team were moving. That's the one thing that we were noticing down in the 8th row was that Toronto was moving quickly everywhere. They were beating Buffalo in the corners. They were beating them in center floor. They were beating them coming back. They were beating them running out. They were getting more chances going that way. And finally, Sawyer was allowing the transition game to take effect, which I hadn't seen since mid last year. Instead of holding up and doing the same tired thing, they were starting to look a little bit like Keenan's Saskatchewan idea of not letting the other team's defense settle in and keeping them. And once they started doing it a few times, then it didn't matter if they did it or not. The other team, Buffalo, was really a little uncomfortable and jumping off the bench quickly, and there were a couple of penalties because they were jumping too quickly.
Right. And the one big bright spot for Buffalo was Calum Crawford, 3 goals and 2 assists. Dane Smith had 2 and 5, and Mitch Jones with 2 and 4. That was the only,
Yeah, Dane Smith was all over the place. Mark Steenhouse played a bad game, but he's noticeably a couple of steps slower than the Mark Steenhouse that I remember.
Yeah.
But the hands are still there.
Yeah, the hands are still there. Pat Saunders, again, he's going through that lapse again of not being consistent with the goal scoring, just with 2 assists, in the game. He needs to really pick it up. He needs to be more consistent, and that's what was part of the problem when he was not only here in Philadelphia but also in New England. The consistency just is not there. He gets the opportunity, and it's just not there half the time.
Yeah, I say Josh Byrne, he had a decent game, but you know what? As a number 1 draft pick, you're kind of expecting as they're going to try and knight him as the juggernaut of offense, and he's there. He's there with Dane Smith. He's there with Calum Crawford. A goal or 2 goals and an assist isn't cutting it.
No, he should be
loose balls. He looked very average.
Yeah, he should be putting in a little bit more.
He looks like he fits in, but that's all. He looks pretty average, and maybe it was just an off night.
Yeah, probably.
Getting acclimated to the league.
And who knows? Maybe this week, when he plays this week, it might. When we go preview that game, he might be able to pick it up this week. We mentioned.
And again, Nick Rose, he wasn't thrown off his game by them running him. He looked pretty steady. There was a couple of ones that were questionable that went in, but generally speaking, he was solid in net. And he's going to have to come up with a big one because, as we'll discuss later, Miller went down this week with an injury in practice or somewhere because he's out with an upper body injury.
Yeah, the infamous.
So this is the first time that Mimico's own Riley Hutchcraft gets a chance to dress for an NLL game. So we'll see if Nick plays solid enough that Riley can just count to 5 and open and close the doors.
the infamous upper body injury.
That's it. Anything from a filling to having to meet up with job commitments.
Yeah. Now, the last game was supposed to start at 7:00. Then it got pushed to 8:15, and then it ended up being at 9. This was Rochester at Georgia. Now,
this is something that the NLL will go through, but teams in the NHL, NBA, NFL, even CFL won't go through, is having problems with your airlines, since basically until you charter your own jets,
right.
You're at the mercy of. And with the bad weather that's rolled around the East Coast, anybody who is with us around here, it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or the U.S., we've all been hit with inclement weather and incredible cold temperatures.
But I wonder if maybe they should have put the game off until Sunday.
The big problem was that their halftime show, which is what they were selling, more so than anything else, had their DJs in there, and he had New Year's Eve commitments in Las Vegas. And since a good chunk of the people who came to this game, kind of like the playoff game, came to see him, they would have had all kinds of problems. So they were trying anything and everything. They would have held that game at midnight if they had to.
You see, that's where
next day because he was in Vegas.
See, that's a problem.
Banner raising because they could have raised the banner in February.
Right.
It wouldn't have made a bit of difference.
And that's the problem for me.
Held on as long as they could.
Yeah,
Rochester, kudos to them to play along with this. Looking at the way the the thing started, it didn't look like it was going to affect them.
No, but
not how you start is how you finish.
Yeah, but the thing is that's the one thing that worries me. They advertise more of their halftime show than they do for the team.
Which is amazing since they are the world champions and they have the three Thompson brothers on this team.
Right. So this game didn't start till 9 o'clock, and Rochester got hit with a 2-minute delay game to start the game.
Ironically, yeah.
I mean, they barely had a shoot around, barely had a warm up. Okay, you saw them on a chartered plane on Twitter at like 5 o'clock in the evening. That, like 4 hours before the game was starting, they're on a chartered jet, leaving, I believe, Rochester, because they had 5 gate changes, a cancellation, and they had to charter 2 jets.
And as well as Air Canada does what Air Canada does, and they were lucky to find Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, so they had, one hell of a time trying to get there, and like you said, Gary, they started off great. They started off 4-0. Yeah, then the second quarter hit.
Yeah, and again, you may be able to be, in your mind's eye, rested, and you're happy to be there and loose and everything, but eventually all this is going to catch up to you. And when you're playing, with an offensive prowess like a Miles Thompson, a Johnny Powless, a Jesse King, a Lyle Thompson, this is going to catch up sooner or later. It's going to catch up.
Yeah, and you wonder, I mean, I'm not making excuses, but you wonder if they would have had the normal rest for a team that comes in, where they would have had to shoot around in the morning and, things of that nature. If this game...
But the last 2 games, they've been juggernauts, right?
Yeah.
Top to bottom, front to back, they've been a juggernaut.
Yeah.
And Georgia's been pretty average.
Yeah, and they didn't...
Rochester starts like a juggernaut and all of a sudden runs out of gas.
Right, and they didn't lose big either. It was only a 3-goal, defeat. But it's
and that point from the last bit of it, because really, into that fourth quarter, it was anybody's game.
Right.
And again, with the 24, I bring it back to last year when Toronto had all those problems going from Vancouver to New England, which was an excursion of 48 hours or so, 46 hours on something that should have taken them 8 or 9 hours, between connections and other things lost, and losing, I think it was 14-13 or something like that, and wondering if they could have pulled that out if everything went smooth.
Right.
Again, it happens every now and again, but in a league like this, it's more apt to happen because they're more at the mercy of regular flights as opposed to chartered flights. And it took them chartering a couple of planes to actually get their butts into Georgia.
Yeah.
Finally, they just had enough of it, and they had to get there. And away they went.
Yeah, see, I would have seen me, they're advertising. I would say, hey, look, DJ, you know what? Get on your plane, go to Vegas. We'll have to do without you. I mean, this is...
Yeah, but that's coming from a fan. I would have said the same thing, because usually it's at halftime where I go and refresh the beer.
Right. I mean, this is the National Lacrosse League. It's not the National DJ League. Okay. I mean, you want to play the music during the game and all that. That's all fine. But when you start advertising and promoting, our halftime is the DJ, and you really don't hear anything about, we're hanging up our championship banner, and I mean, they barely raised it. They just dropped it.
Yeah. Well, when you take a look at the fees for this, it costs his regular appearance fee is $80,000. So basically, the people who showed up, that basically covered that. So you're still in the red after the game.
That's unreal.
So are you winning in this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
There's some butts in the seats, and maybe, just maybe, you're throwing up at the wall, some of it'll stick. Maybe some of these people will be back.
Maybe, yeah.
Found out that this is a really damn good game.
Yeah, I mean, they had 6,200 was the attendance.
And a lot of them were there past the halftime show.
Yeah. I don't know, it just...
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next home game. But for a team that just won as convincingly as they did, and knocking Saskatchewan off their perch in a really, really fine playoff series, you would think that they would be able to ramp up on this. And like I say, I know that they've their people in their front office gave a real good off-season effort because they went through every name that were on their list, and because I was there once, I got a phone call.
You got a phone call, right?
Yeah, so like they were. You can't say they were asleep at the switch.
No,
they're trying.
Hey, if they're putting out over $80,000 to have a DJ there, and they call you to see if you want to, have season tickets or a game plan, why don't they just fly you down for a game?
Well, it would probably be a lot cheaper than bringing in one of these guys in.
Yeah.
A whole lot more coverage out of it too.
But yeah, like you said, Jesse King 4 goals, Lyle Thompson 3 and 3, Miles had a goal and an assist, Randy Stotts with 4 assists. They were the main catalysts there. Over on Rochester, Dan Dawson just with 3 assists, Joe Restars with a hat trick and 2. Corey Vitarelli had a hat trick as well, and Kyle Jackson had 2 goals, and Jammer Cody Jameson 1 goal, 2 assists. And
here's the interesting stat that really doesn't. There isn't a stat for it, but with all the travel problems, I want you to take a look at all the people who are, shall we say, in our category, a little experienced, shall we say, and you'll notice that their numbers are way down. Way down.
Uh-huh.
That's what happened when you start putting 2 days worth of travel into a little small trip that should be 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Those are the people getting affected. When your catalyst of Dan Dawson is only getting 3 assists and no goals,
only
things are hurting out there.
Yeah, and only 5 shots.
Yeah. So, as much as like to say, it doesn't affect them. Yes, it does.
Oh, it does. It does, and, you wonder, they did try to get out the night before, but, with the weather, there was cancellation.
Been averaging a 70% face-off thing with 6 for 15.
Yeah.
Little things like that catch my attention. Now, he wasn't part of the game. He had 13 loose balls. One turnover, 2 caused turnovers. So he was in there. Only had 1 shot on net, which is odd for him. He usually gets a few more than that.
Yeah. See, and I wonder if they tried to maybe say reschedule the game while this was going on. Maybe played a week that both teams are not scheduled to play, if there was an opening or something like that, because for a team to come in like that 5 o'clock on a charter and then leaving to get down to Georgia and then have to get to the arena, loosen up real quick, and then come out on the floor and then start the game with a 2-minute penalty.
Yeah, when you're already behind the 8 ball.
Right.
Now, Matt Vince, he played well. He didn't play like Matt Vince was 25 years old.
No.
Because, again, in something like this, it's going to affect especially guys who are a little bit older.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, and only 14 goals against, how many would there have been if he would have been rested and would have been sharp?
Maybe 8.
Maybe it would have been the same, but I doubt it.
I doubt it, too, because with what Rochester had to go through, Georgia still only managed, they managed 14, but that's only 3 over what they've been scoring. They should have been...
Granted, the power plays, Georgia had a ton of them and only got 1 power play goal. So, right there, you're looking at a full quarter that Georgia had as a power play.
One power play, but also they let up 2 shorthanded.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they were in the negative on the special teams.
Which is a little bit troubling if you're a Georgia fan.
Right.
So how much of this is really on Georgia and how much on this is really on Rochester being tired?
Tired, right. Well, we'll find that out tonight.
As things play out, we're going to see a little bit more of this. Again, this is, as a mark on Rochester, I kind of put an asterisk beside this, kind of like teams that just played Saskatchewan and that juggernaut, and I put an asterisk against that game. I will not use that early on in the season as a judgment of how that other team is doing, because you just went against a team that is completely refined and tightly homed.
Right.
Whereas this one, you have a team that was tired. There's no way you're going to tell me they weren't jet lagged and weren't completely discombobulated from all this trial and tribulation of trying to get there. Or if they would have hopped in their cars, they would have been there a lot easier.
Yeah.
That's sad, at a 24-hour drive from here to there. And they would have been better off if they all would have driven in their own cars there.
Cars, right.
Sadly enough.
Yeah. Well, while we're in Georgia, let's stay in Georgia, and we'll start to preview these games coming up. We're in Georgia, and you were just great lead, and you were talking about Saskatchewan. A rematch of last year's Champions Cup. Saskatchewan comes to town to face the Georgia Swarm.
Now is the litmus test for Georgia.
Yes, that's
You beat Rochester, who's been walking over everybody in the East. Now you get a chance to take a look at your foes who, if you're going to make it to the finals, in my opinion, this is who you're going to face in the finals. And you got a team that really, I have seen no blemishes on anything this year. Watching them live and watching them on NLL TV. Transitionally, they're as strong as ever. Offensively, I think they got stronger. Defensively, they have the best defense in the league. And goaltending, Evan Kirk stood up and has taken Aaron Bull's spot very nicely. Maybe in kind of also having the best defense in the league.
right.
So, to me, that's a juggernaut. And now you have Georgia, who, it's going to be interesting, because let's see what the crowd is like without anybody being publicized as the halftime show.
Yeah,
Just so much fans, man, because if you're a lacrosse fan and you want to miss Saskatchewan, turn in your shield there, pal.
Exactly.
This is a team you want to see live, especially when you can sit anywhere in there and get a really good view.
Yeah, I mean, if they get...
If I was there, I'd actually have a different seat in each of the 4 quarters. To get different advantages of how this is done.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a test for Georgia. Are they coming back? They're getting a team that's obviously rested, came in early enough, didn't have any flight problems, so they're ready to go. They're not going to be, as I like to say, pussyfooting around. You got the scoring there. You got Mark Matthews. You got Ben McIntosh. You got Robert Church. I mean, you got those 3, and the list just goes on. Like you said, with the defense and Chris Corbeil. You have it all on that team, and this is where the Thompsons need to step up. You're facing a team like Saskatchewan, who's put in 41 goals in their 2 games. Okay? They're averaging 20 and a half goals a game. I mean, that's just absurd right now.
It's astounding, isn't it?
Okay? They're averaging 20 a game, and their opponents are only averaging 10. So they're outscoring you 2-1. Okay? McIntosh has 10 goals. Mark Matthews has 7. Robert Church has 5. They've combined for 22 of the 41 goals. Okay? Then you got Ryan Keenan, Jeff Shatler, Curtis Knight, Adrian Sorcetti, all with 3 goals. So, I mean, it's all right there. Shatler, Keenan, Church, McIntosh, and Matthews. Okay? From 5 to 1 in that order. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 are the leaders in points. Matthews 18, McIntosh 15, Church with 14, Keenan 12, Shatler 11. Jeff Shatler's
pretty... the numbers even defensively, transitionally and defensively.
Yeah.
Transitionally, Jeff Cornwall, a goal and assist. Chris Corbeil, a goal and assist.
Now,
Barry Thompson,
a
goal and assist. And, even though he's not, ripping it apart, he's still at around 50% on faceoffs. So that's incredible with a team like this. Then even looking down defensively, Brett Mitsky with a goal, Ryan Dilks with a goal. Now here's the one I want. I want Kyle Rubisch to get a goal for the first time in over a year, so that the Rubisch party can happen.
Yes.
Mike Messenger, he's been having a great time in there also. With 11 loose balls and some caused turnovers as well. So everywhere you look at it, anybody who's donned a uniform has had input into this season. So if you thought they were strong before, now you're going to catch the one that's hungry too.
Yeah. I mean, they're just...
I think the one thing that may have hampered them last year was because they were flying coming down the stretch. That they got a little bit, happy-go-lucky with themselves, for lack of a better term, and got caught by a really, really hot Thompson Brothers swing, as well as a few other pieces.
Right.
Now those few other pieces are gone for Georgia, but Saskatchewan is looking strong. Mark Matthews is putting up these numbers with a hobble. He's had 2 weeks now to heal, and let's see. I'm pretty sure since it wasn't anything serious that after 2 weeks he's almost 100% now.
Yeah, he's averaging
his team on his back regardless.
Yeah, he's averaging 9 points a game. Okay, that equals 162 for a season.
Yeah, it's astounding, and everything runs through him. And when you're 200 feet tall and 200 pounds, 280 pounds, you're going to carry a few people around.
Yeah.
As well as set up everything, because even when he was hurt in Toronto, where he only had 1 goal, he still had 4 assists, and he still was the center where everything was going. And even if he wasn't part of the assist package, where he would be number 3, he was still drawing enough attention that left an awful lot of floor open for the other guys to work their magic. The Ben McIntoshes, Robert Churches, and Ryan Keenans, let alone Jeff Shatler. And it keeps going.
Yeah. And, like I said, Thompson's really need to step up in this game. Mike Poulin needs to be on his game
big time. Mike Poulin needs to be the way he played in the finals last year.
Yeah, there can't be any hiccup in this game at all whatsoever, because you have a team that's averaging 20.5 goals a game and only allowing 10. Meanwhile,
like Poulin's not wowing anybody with a 12.33 goals against average and a 757 save percentage. So these numbers have to be a whole lot higher, or they're going to be a whole lot. Well, they're going to be higher as the goals against,
right,
and lower as the save percentage at the end of this game.
Yeah, because they're allowing.
Because he's going to be tested. There's no 2 ways about it.
Yeah, in 3 games they let up a total of 38 goals. Okay, so that's almost 13 a game that they're allowing, and they're only scoring 12. But you're facing a team that's pumping in 20.
Well, since they have 3 goalies on the roster, you think we're going to see all 3 of them tonight?
And then at the same time, they might have a chance.
Touche.
I mean, yeah, it's very possible if they have all 3 dressed, we may see all 3. I mean, they may be talking to the league right now saying, hey, look, can we put all 3 of them in the net right now? I mean...
Well, when I look at their stats, man, when Kalmatis is listed as a forward, so
yeah,
they're listed to us finally, and he's number 2 on the scoring charts with Lyle Thompson with 6 goals and 11 assists, but Kalmatis is right behind him with 4 goals and 10 assists. Shane Jackson, Randy Stotts are having decent starts. Jesse King, it doesn't look like the injury slowed him down at all.
No.
8 goals, 3 assists, but now we started dropping off in production from that point on.
Yeah, and
Miles Thompson, noticeably at 2 goals, 4 assists. Johnny Powless at 1 goal, 4 assists. When your next one is Mike Poulin at 3 assists, you're not getting a lot of more production, are you?
No.
Alex Krepensek with 2 assists. Connor Sellers with 2 assists. Now, granted, these are D-men, but still. Zed Williams, who was supposed to take the league by storm when I was listening to this at the draft, and he's been tearing it up with 1 goal and no assists.
Yeah.
Nine loose balls in 3 games. There's an awful lot of guys in the league with those kind of numbers. So if you're as highly touted as you are, that Georgia could trade off a bunch of their other picks because they got Zed Williams. Maybe we should get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Jerome Thompson, silent, and silent. 5 loose balls throughout the season so far.
So I guess it's safe to say that we're both going to go for Saskatchewan this week in one of our picks.
Yeah, I'm going for Saskatchewan +8 or -8, whatever. I'm going to give quite a few to Georgia. I think this is a walk.
Walk, yeah. Now, the next game is really interesting. 2 teams that are struggling big time. Calgary at Buffalo. I don't know where to go with this.
This is the scratch your head kind of thing, and it's in Buffalo, so at least Calgary used to this weather. So
it wouldn't surprise me if it ended in a tie.
Yeah, -1.
I mean, Calgary's struggling with their goaltenders. Buffalo, I don't know, seems to be doing the same thing. Bouquet he can't get back on track. We mentioned Steinhaus earlier in the show.
The thing that's noticeable is that the nets are 4x4 here. The nets are a little bigger in NLL than they are in WLA.
Right.
And Mann Cup. And Nick Rose had the same issues before. Is shots that would hit top corners in NLL would be going sailing into the corner during MSL and WLA playing in the summer. I'm thinking that Bouquet's having a little bit of that problem. He never really saw, he got this billing of being, oh my God.
Right.
But how much did he play in Colorado? He wasn't really going to, upstage Dylan Ward, was he?
No, but he was still there for the practices and for the warm-ups. I mean, I guess you could say that they have to compensate for the 9 inches.
I guess. But, you're on the ball today, eh?
Yeah. It's a Saturday night, 2 hours and 1 minute before opening faceoff of the Saskatchewan game. There's NFL games going on the wild card weekend. It's freezing cold out here and in Toronto, and yeah, I'm a little bit on the ball right now.
Sharp as a tack.
Sharp as a tack, yeah. But some people may argue that point, but
funny thing is here is where Buffalo, I don't think that their big issue is goaltending unless you're looking at rebounds, because their defense isn't playing very well.
No.
Calgary, I think, is goaltending and not so much defense, whereas you don't have to worry about a second shot because the first one went in. So, both the back ends, I think, are liabilities right now, and they need to, right the ship. Offensively, I give a little bit to Buffalo because they have pieces in place with Kalen Crawford, with Dane Smith, with Josh Byrne. This might be a game for him to get acclimated and start moving around a little bit.
Yep.
But is it also that the Cordingley systems aren't fitting for the team that is changing in front of them? Very possible.
It's very possible.
Buffalo isn't getting beaten by, oh my God, they could have had that game, they lost by a goal. They, with the exception of the first game, like I say, where Toronto didn't play well at all, and still almost came away with it because 2 of those goals were empty net goals at the end of the game. So 11-9, with a few minutes left going the other way, one lucky bounce the other way, and this is a different game too.
Yeah.
And then they get shelled, absolutely shelled in the next 2 by both Eastern opponents. So, I don't think that Calgary. It's one of those things where I don't think Calgary is as bad as they looked, but I don't think Buffalo is that bad either.
No.
I think in the long haul, I think Buffalo has a better chance of moving forward once these guys actually acclimate and gel. But I don't think this is the week. And I don't think firepower enough. I don't think that they can get on top of Scigliano or Del Bianco enough to make it uncomfortable, or they're going to get second, third, fourth opportunities to score. I think Calgary's defense can pick up the slack a little bit, and you might see that the loose balls for Calgary pick up in this game, because that's one thing that their numbers aren't very good on at all.
But the thing is here, you're saying that the Calgary's defense can pick it up, but can their offense score? Because we know Buffalo has the scoring.
Well, how long are you going to keep Dane Dobbie from scoring? How long are you going to keep Tyler Digby? You have 1 goal, 6 assists.
Well, so far teams have done it. 2 out of the 3 games it's happened.
From last week.
It's happened so far. I mean,
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think
he's got 3 goals this year. 3 goals, 6 assists. Westberg, 3 goals, 5 assists.
Yeah.
Riley Lowen has been taking the offensive prowl with 6 goals, 2 assists. Holden Cattoni with 5 goals and 2 assists, which, by the way, is the Holden Cattoni that I watched in the summertime. Last week he didn't do very well, but if he's given a little more apt to run the floor, and from what I saw last week, Buffalo playing Toronto, he'll have a little more opportunity to run the floor. Dane Dobbie, you're not going to shut down, I don't think. I think you see a big game from him this week. At 2 goals and 5 assists for the year, he's about ready to break out. Tyson Bell, if you can keep him out of the penalty box, he's got a goal and 5 assists on D. I think he can do a little bit more, and transitioning, I think they should use him a little bit more.
Right.
Zach Currier also transitioning. I think they should be pushing the floor a little bit more instead of being so conservative. And therein lies the problem, because where a team like Saskatchewan is getting production from every facet of their lineup, the Calgary Calgary's having trouble getting it from the forwards, let alone from the transition or D-men. Creighton Reed, he's played 3 games, and he's been, well, with the exception of 13 loose balls, he's been very, very silent on that floor. A big body like that should be banging all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Played one game. If I were them, he went 11 for 14 in that game in faceoffs. There's no reason why he shouldn't be in this lineup and winning faceoffs and giving him an opportunity. Because the rest of the team, the only other person who actually has numbers worth a damn on the faceoffs is Tyler Burton at 20 out of 31. So if you have a Tyler Burton and Bob Snyder as your faceoff man, right away you're going to have possession of that ball 65% of the time.
Yeah, but the question is, does Bob Snyder dress for this game? He didn't dress last game.
That's what I mean. If you're 11 for 14, I'm making sure you dress. You had 6 loose balls, 11 for 14. He did exactly what he had to do on defense.
Right.
He wasn't a liability. He had 0 penalty minutes against him. And he was there to win faceoffs.
Right,
and he did.
And the game that he did play, they won.
Yeah. Why are we sitting him?
Right. I mean,
it's just different things. I would, I would have, one of the other players on D sitting down to make sure he gets in there. Because it's not like anybody's blown the doors off and absolutely got my attention going, wow, we need to see him in defense. It's just, Mitch Wild and Dan McRae, those are the 2 guys who I'd say are locks. They need to stay in the lineup defensively. Curtis Manning as well. But when you're coming down from then on, Garrett McIntosh, Greg Harnett, Greg Harnett's actually shown me quite a bit this year.
Right.
But he's only got 1 goal as production, 5 loose balls. So if you didn't put him in the lineup, I would maybe raise a Spocky eyebrow, but I really wouldn't be pushing you going, why? Tyler Burton with 1 assist, 12 loose balls, maybe should be in the lineup a little bit more. But to me, I would have Snyder in, maybe sit Mike Carnegie down. But that's just me.
Yeah. No, I see it. I mean, you need to get the face-off draws. You really do, because you're going against If
you're ailing, this is the definite thing that you need to do.
Yeah, because you're going against Buffalo. Chase Frazier is 30 out of 58, and Nick Weiss is 15 out of 41. They're below 50%, but
that can easily jump to 70 if you got a face-off man who isn't winning anything.
Right. And, as much as I hate to go up against Buffalo, I mean, I don't know who to really go with this game because the goaltending on Calgary is iffy. You got to flip a coin on that. Alex Bouquet really hasn't shown me a whole lot with Buffalo. But when I look at their scoring, with Dane Smith with 4, Mitch Jones with 7, Crawford with 5, Byrne with 4. Yeah, granted, it's in 3 games. Some of them are, Mitch Jones is the most consistent one, 7 and 6. And them being the home team, I think they're going to come out ahead on this one. As much as I hate to pick Buffalo,
I'm going opposite. I'm going Calgary.
You're going Calgary on that. It just with Dixon not scoring 2 out of the 2 of 3 games, and Dobie struggling, and them coming into Buffalo. I don't know. Going up against Steve Priolo, and some of the players out there on defense just kind of, I don't know. I think this is the game that's made for Buffalo, for Josh Byrne to come out and say, this is why I was number 1. And it's going to send, I think, Calgary not into a headspin, but where you're going to see Christian Del Bianco in for, I would say, close to about 10 to 15 minutes of game time.
Well, really, with the exception, let's take Nick Weiss and let's take Steve Priolo out of the problem, and Mark Steenhouse, because I figure him more as an offensive guy anyways. But defensively, from that point on, you have 2 points. So you're not getting any help from the back end. None. There are no goals and 2 assists for Mitch Sisneau. After that, nothing.
Right.
I'm thinking that unless they have some other things happening, they're going to have all kinds of trouble getting the ball at the floor. So once it's up there, then we gotta sit there and hold our breath with Ciliano or Del Bianco or both.
Right.
But up until that point, you know what? I don't see Buffalo really pushing anything. Loose balls, you got Bennett and Brunel. They're both doing decently.
Right. And you got Bennett with 3 caused turnovers. Brunel has 5 caused turnovers, but he's also made 4. And Desnu has caused 3 turnovers.
Right, and 22 loose balls.
Right.
So, there was okay. But I really don't see a whole lot out of Buffalo's defense. And last week I saw a whole lot of nothing out of Buffalo's defense.
Yeah.
Even when it was close. When they could have tightened up the ship, Toronto was running roughshod.
Yeah. Well, maybe this game is good for both teams. That maybe they both right the ship somehow. I don't know.
It's a coin toss.
It's a coin toss, yeah. And when it comes to that, I kind of go with the home team. As much as I hate to go with Buffalo.
Well, as you can see, I'm going obviously with the next one too. I'm going all road teams this week.
Yeah.
Completely unorthodox.
Yeah, and that last game, well, it's self-explanatory. I know you're going with Toronto, and this game, I'm sorry, with Vancouver just hasn't really shown me anything.
They haven't, and players like Hellier must be licking their chops because they've been notoriously absolute stealth killers.
I mean,
in Langley Event Center.
Yeah, I mean, here's the breakdown for Vancouver real quick. They're 8th overall in goals per game, only averaging 9.67. Goals against, they're letting up 14.3. They're last in the power play at 8.33%, but their penalty kill is second at 71. So I think if they play the whole game shorthanded, they'll do well.
Let's take into account that Toronto's power play, though it was pretty weak, seemed to right the ship last week. So, and once again, one of the things that skewed the numbers for Toronto was that week against Saskatchewan. And there are murderers on death row that have chosen the electric chair over going against Saskatchewan. So,
if you go by the stats, like I said, Toronto's 4th in the league in goals, so they're scoring more goals than Vancouver. Goals against are 14.33. They're 7th, similar to Vancouver. Power play, they're 4th, but their penalty kill is last. So they need to stay out of the box this game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the story of it all. They just need to stay out of the box and play Toronto Rock Lacrosse. I mean,
yeah, I agree. Now, two of those games were against Buffalo, so the penalty minutes would be higher.
Right.
Just because it was Buffalo, because they're apt to knock each other silly.
Silly, right?
So, I was actually surprised that a lot of stuff didn't get called last week that could have gotten called.
Cool, yeah.
So, I don't know if there's a mandate from the league to call a lot less to let them play, but it's starting to show up noticeably in the stats because we're going week after week. There's only 7 penalties in this one. Here we had a couple of fights, and there still was only a few penalties in that one. So, that being said, I'm looking for Toronto to build on what they did last week. Whereas Vancouver, as long as if Toronto doesn't poke the bear, let's not get Corey Small moving. Let's not get Logan Schuss moving. Let's not wake up some of these guys.
Yeah.
Let's not hibernate. It's warmer in Vancouver than it is here. Let's not wake them up and have them start roaming around the streets.
No, they just got to stay on top of them. Do what they can do.
Let the transition team do what they did last week. Let them use their speed to their advantage.
Right.
Because that was the big key. That was what woke us all up last year when Sawyer came in. The transition game was unpredictable and astoundingly good. And all of a sudden they went away from it and started shooting things from Mississauga, Oakville, maybe even some from Buffalo when they're not playing Buffalo. But they have to get inside. Transitionally, if you're pushing the ball up the floor, don't always be sitting waiting for offense and let everybody set up because that doesn't do a whole lot of good usually. If you can keep them off balanced, and like you did against Buffalo, where they didn't know if they were coming or going, I think that they have Vancouver make an awful lot of mistakes. Brandon Cleland, he's listed as transition, though he's been playing offense. He's been playing as a forward. It's funny because as a healthy scratch last year, because he wasn't getting along with the coaching, he's taking the ball and run.
Yeah.
He's got 4 points for a transition guy. But as for anybody else in there, Ryan Fournier has been making his mark by being 45% on faceoffs. But what else? Suter's had 3 assists. I look down the list, and there's nobody that jumps out at me transitionally for Vancouver. And loose balls, they're probably one of the lowest in the league. So I don't see a whole lot of upside unless the big 3 wake up.
Yeah, and well, two of them really need to wake up right now, and that's Reese Dutch and Corey Small.
Because you're not going to rest your season on Joel McCready being that hot.
No, I mean, Corey Small's tied for the team lead in points, but he only has 1 goal. I mean, he should have more. Reese Dutch, 1 goal, 6 assists. I mean, that's just,
These are astounding numbers for a team that I thought would be a little more jump, especially with them finishing second last year.
Yeah.
Matt Beers being the heart and soul. Okay, 12 loose balls in 3 games. He left one of the games with an injury, but he's healthy. 1 turnover, 3 caused turnovers, 6 penalty minutes, and only 2 points. So, one of the things I remember last year with Beer, especially against Toronto, was he turned into an offensive juggernaut. He was just running amok and hitting everything that moved. Where the numbers are pretty average this year.
Yeah, they're only averaging about 60 loose balls a game. That's it.
Yeah, against a team that just got 100 loose balls last
game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so...
last week's production almost eclipsed their entire season.
Yeah, so it's safe to say we're both going with Toronto in this game. So we have both agreeing on Toronto over Vancouver. We're both going. Well, we
Saskatchewan over Georgia.
Saskatchewan over Georgia, and we're split on Calgary and Buffalo. Now, right now, Gary, for our standings between you and I'm standing at 10-3. You're at 8-5 right now. So this week you get to see if you gain a game, pull within a game.
You have a hell of a comeback down the stretch.
For bragging rights, because there's been a couple weeks the last 2 weeks we actually picked the same teams that we agreed on them, and it's self-explanatory on some of them. But another show, we're into 2018. A few more months till we see an expansion draft. We talked about that before. We're waiting to see what those rules are going to be, and it should be kind of interesting. So we get, I'm waiting for that to come down so I can start writing my list of what players I would protect for each team. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm waiting for. Some of the teams are self-explanatory. Sean Evans, he's going to be protected. Kevin Crowley, you go to Toronto, Hellier's going to be protected. Guys, the top guys like that are going to be protected. Reese Dutch on Vancouver, players, like that, Corey Small, all those guys are going to be protected. So it should be kind of interesting as to see who and what can be stopped or protected, I should say. But that's going to do it. We have just a little bit over an hour and a half till the first game. The game of the week, which is, I believe, the Twitter game of the week, is the Buffalo-Calgary game.
Which is interesting because either of the other 2 games is more interesting to me to watch. But, spread it around.
Yeah. So you got Buffalo and Calgary as the Twitter game. Everything is on NLLTV.com. Get your subscription. You're missing out on a lot of great lacrosse, and it's going to be tonight. Like we said, Gary, Saskatchewan and Georgia, rematch of the Champions Cup. And a half hour later, Buffalo kicks off against Calgary in Buffalo. And then 10 o'clock tonight, all the attention gets drawn on Toronto because the other 2 games should be over by that point. So Toronto can get all the fans to watch watch that game. There won't be any split screen on that one.
Exactly.
All right. So that'll do it for this week. We will be back again hopefully next week, hopefully on Thursday with no point streak
difficulties.
Yeah, without no technical point streak difficulties where they're updating their database. But sometimes you just got to take the go with the bad. So until then, for Gary Grube at laxphilly.com, I'm Rocco Granado from InLacrosseWeTrust.com. We'll see everybody here again next week.